So, uh, so I'll just do a bit of a recap from the last time, then we can talk about anything if you want to talk. It's been
Okay.
a few days and we've been going back and forth between these two sessions also. So even I keep getting confused about which point of the book we're at right now.
I know. And I feel I've heard it just yesterday because something we are little, that thing is happening in my mind also, but I got it now.
Yeah. And also because actually it's so interesting. The book layout or the content layout in the book doesn't exactly match the recording because some of the stuff that was read yesterday from the page 40 something to 43 or something.
We
I think
ended at
40 to
44.
43.
We ended
Uh,
at 44.
yeah, I think we ended at 52 yesterday actually. But from
Acha.
page 40 to 45 or something like that, the content that was discussed in those portions is the same content that is discussed in video number 10, actually, in the recording number 10, which is much later than a lot of the other content in the
But
video.
there was a problem in the recording of the Hindi version that Baba Ji ka tha, original, उसमें भी गलती है.
उसमें कौन सी मतलब ऑर्डर की
फिर चली जाता फिर बाद में फिर आ जाता है ऐसे.
मतलब
I told you that time also. I think the term when that lady was teaching me Hindi में, I said, but we've done this. ये क्या? I got confused. It comes twice.
So the content often comes twice. I think one of the first few recordings in this channel that has curated it, they've done a bit of back and forth. So actually, the first 2 or 3 recordings that I used were from a different channel. Then that follows a fixed order. Then it doesn't get repeated. But but otherwise, the content in the recordings has a certain flow, but the book flow is different. So I don't know how that was figured out. And I'll have to do a mapping after we're through with all this. I plan on sitting down and doing a mapping of how the content was reorganized. Hi, Prachi.
Hi.
Hi, Prachi.
Hi.
See you after long.
I'm still not home, but it should be there in 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, Manju, very long time. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
That time didn't really suit any of us very much, I think.
I mean, it felt nice once we had the class, but now that summers have come, this timing is also good.
Yeah. Okay. So, should I do a recap?
Yeah.
Alright, so we had ended on this section in which he's talking about how that one important issue that comes up in this perspective is that just because I have understood, one person has understood, that doesn't mean that everyone else automatically understands or automatically overcomes, which is a very common tenet that has been propounded by a lot of idealistic cultures, traditions, that one person needs to have overcome, and that will help everyone else also overcome. So this sort of heroism is something that is not propounded to this perspective. This perspective says that every individual has to understand for themselves. At best, what happens, not at best, actually, what naturally happens is that if one person understands, the evidence of their understanding is in sharing it with others and helping others understand as well. And in this way, it naturally spreads further. But each individual has to do the understanding for themselves. And in that, he was also doing a bit of a critique of the incompleteness in traditions, in which he's saying there's been a lot of great aspirations that have been very explicitly outlined in a lot of traditions and a lot of idealistic traditions. They are very high sort of aspirations, which are very good and very desirable. These aspirations of everyone being good and everyone becoming wise and everyone becoming, a collective family and things like that. There have been very high aspirations such as those, but there has been no evidence. There has been no evidence of this having been achieved through this process of heroism or this process of one person fixing all, and or even basically at the root of this process is some sort of exclusiveness or some sort of mysticalness. So here he's saying that in tradition, we must judge for ourselves whenever there is a proposal in tradition, when if it is not reaching this point of education and understanding, then where is its evidence? Where does its evidence lie? Is something we must judge for ourselves. Because through these, we have not been able to address the crimes that face humanity and human society. And we have been unable to, in fact, even departments set up in universities to study crimes are only able to outline things like, how many crimes were committed by whom and what punishment was given to them. So by way of justice and judiciary, all we've really reached is just crimes and punishments and decision making, and no true justice has ever been identified. And so he says, it can only be identified, and these mistakes and crimes that exist continue to persist and in fact magnify in tradition, will magnify, and yet they will be very diverse, because no one crime, no one particular kind of mistake is acceptable to others. In the sense that if you commit a mistake, it will not be acceptable to me, and therefore it doesn't form a tradition, because even though I may not have understood any better, I can still sense that this is something that is not satisfactory. And so I will add some modification to it. So I'll make some other kind of mistake. So mistakes and crimes don't have a tradition of their own. So what does actually have a tradition then? So what does have a tradition is rightness and understanding. So mistakes have no tradition. Correctness and order and satisfaction has a tradition. So how does one reach? What is the satisfaction that gets passed on in tradition? And he says that this, what actually ends up.
You said correctness, order, and one more thing. Rightness.
Satisfaction. Basically, whatever is satisfying, that what is correct, completely correct, is what will be fully satisfying. The fulfillment or complete satisfaction gets passed on in the tradition. And so what is it that actually fully satisfies, and what is it then that actually gets passed on in tradition? That thing is, he divided it into two classes. The first is understanding, and the second is the art of living, he says. So understanding, he has already elaborated on. There are three types, things that must be understood in their entirety. That is existence, the Jeevan, and humane conduct. So that understanding will get passed on in the tradition. And secondly, what gets passed on is the art of living. And he says, even I developed my art of living, which initially I learned. So initially he also learned it from tradition, that what became worthy of passing on, which became worthy of his satisfaction, was the art of living that he developed based on understanding itself. So because he understood what humaneness is, what existence is, what natural systems and orders and complementarity and harmony is, based on that, when he devised an art of living, that is something which actually satisfies, and that is something which can actually be passed on and form a tradition from generation to generation. So actually he divided it into two things. The two things that get passed on in tradition are understanding and the art of living. But even in the art of living, it has to be rooted in understanding. So for that, we need education and education systems. And that is the way humanity can move forward, because humanity is not the same as animals. Animals don't need any education system to learn to live in order, because animals are lineage concordant, whereas humans are sanskar concordant. That is, humans, their conduct is based on their deeply rooted acceptances or sanskars. And therefore, these acceptances need to be formed through education and enculturation. So, because the rest of nature, they don't need this sort of education and enculturation, because they're limited in their purview of living in a mechanical way. That is, they are ordered by way of laws, regulation, and balancing. These are all mechanical processes. So there are some laws there are these definite conducts of each thing. Regulation is when the definite conducts of two things come together in tandem with each other and they get regulated. Their actions and conduct get regulated. Then balance is when several such patterns of definite conduct being regulated with each other all form a system, a web, which is completely in balance with each other. So all the networks are regulated and balanced with all the others. So that is called balance. You can imagine, say, a group of dancers, who first there are just there are sets of partners, they're dancing with each other. But then there's a formation in which there are lots of such sets, and they're also, besides dancing with each other, they're also in coordination with all the others. So that larger coordination is called balance, because all of their movements and all of their conducts are balanced. But all of this is still in the purview of mechanical balance. So humans need this also, that's a minimum, but humans also require justice. So humans need to be orderly to laws, regulation, balance, as well as justice. Laws, regulation, and balance humans will have to employ with the rest of the natural world, whereas for human order, there needs to be justice. Because among ourselves, when we try to find a balance, when we try to strike a balance based on just transactional formalities and mechanical systems, it never proves sufficient. Because what our innate need is to find justice. So therefore, we must understand and live justice also. So this is where we had ended in the last video, which was video 10. We can start the next one, but before that, if you have any thoughts or questions, we can do those first.
I'm good, Drishta.
Okay. Manjuji?
I'm also okay for now, yeah. I wanted to know the 3 points, but I'll read it in the book, don't worry. The
Okay.
3 things.
What did you want to know?
I wanted to know, you said 3 things are same as the animal thing, but humans need justice also.
Also,
What were
yeah.
the other
So,
3 things?
yeah, they're important. So it's law, niyam, then regulation or niyantran. I also like coordination for niyantran, but regulation is the more accurate translation.
Regulation. What is regulation? How does it mean? Like regulation and what we like?
Regulation is niyantran. So like, it's more like coordination actually. So, they are all coordinated. So everything has a definite conduct, but they are also coordinated with each other. They find a coordination with each other.
Okay, that is species specific, no? Like that.
So for each order, it finds its coordination based on different principles. Like if you look at an atom, each subatomic particle has its own definite spin. But when they come together, besides spinning, they also find a dynamic movement around each other. So one will start revolving around the other, or two will start revolving around two. So that's a coordination between several definite conducts, right? In which they are all finding a good tandem with each other, some complementarity.
So law, which is regulation, which is coordination and all that. And third was?
Santulan, which is balance.
Yeah, okay, got it.
So it's niyam, niyantran, santulan, and nyaya.
Nyaya is specific to us, humans.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is video 11. सहअस्तित्व और कोएग्जिस्टेंस.
तो इसको यदि हम ठीक से हृदयंगम करते हैं.
I had sped it up one second.
तब अपने में एक और अच्छी बातें उपज सकती.
You said nyay there also for law, and you're saying nyay for justice also.
No. Niyam.
Niyam. Okay, got it.
Yeah, na and ya is same. Yeah.
है अपने में एक और अच्छी बातें उपज सकती है। क्या उपज सकती है?
Sorry, I don't know what you said.
तो इसको यदि हम ठीक से हृदयंगम करते हैं तब अपने में एक और अच्छी बातें उपज सकती है।
So when we digest this fully, and Hridayangam is actually to put in one's heart, literally. Hridayangam, to make part of one's heart. So when we fully internalize this, let's say, when we internalize this properly, another good thing that comes out of it is, that can come out of it is,
क्या उपज सकती है? तो हम जो अभी तक किए उसमें जब हम पार नहीं पाए, इस पर हर व्यक्ति अपने मन लगा करके तो क्या उपाय हो सकता है उसको सोचने के लिए तैयार हो पाता है।
So what can emerge if we internalize this properly? That if we haven't been able to overcome, then every individual can dedicate some efforts towards thinking of solutions to this.
यह तैयार होना मानव का सहज क्रिया है। ये भी
So this preparing oneself to put in the effort to look for solutions is something that is a natural process for humans.
इसमें कोई लदा फंसा हुआ कुछ भी नहीं है। मनुष्य सोचता ही है, सोचने वाला इकाई कोई मनुष्य हम कह ही रहे हैं विचार।
So there is no compulsion or some trap or any trap in this. Every human being thinks, naturally thinks. It is a thinking and rational entity that is that we are calling the human being to begin with. That
करने वाले वस्तु को ही हम मनुष्य कह रहे हैं। तो मनुष्य में सोच विचार एक निरंतर क्रिया है, अनुस्यूत क्रिया है। इसका कोई गम्य स्थली तक के करता ही रहेगा। ये
so this thought process or thinking in humans is an intrinsic, innate activity in human beings, and they will continue to do this until they reach some sort of destination.
यही शोध का स्रोत है। हर व्यक्ति
And this is the source of all inquiry.
शोध में प्रवेश कर सकता है।
Each individual can enter into inquiry. So he starts with saying that if we recognize this, that there is something that we have not yet achieved, that we have not overcome something, then that prepares us. What emerges out of that recognition is that it prepares each individual who recognizes that to put in the effort to look for solutions to overcome. So as soon as you recognize that you haven't overcome and that there is something to overcome, that automatically enables you, puts you in the position, prepares you to dedicate some efforts towards looking for solutions to overcome. And that is the natural process for humans. So humans are constantly thinking anyway. When we recognize this is a big problem, we'll dedicate our thoughts to this direction. We'll dedicate our thoughts to this sort of research and inquiry. How to overcome.
हम सोचते हैं वो कर सकता है, ये कर सकता है। ये भी बहुत ही एक ऐसी लगता है कि हम असामाजिक तत्व को अपना लिए हैं।
We sometimes think that this person can do this or that person can do this. That too is a sort of asocial element that we have adopted. I think what he means is that when we think that someone else should do the thinking and solution finding for us, and it is not in our hands to do it, that is an asocial thought. That is an asocial belief.
हर व्यक्ति शोध कर सकता है, ये सच्चाई।
Each individual can perform inquiry. That is the truth.
अपने शोध से स्वयं तृप्त होना भी आवश्यक।
Because our tradition says Guru is a must. To reach that point of evolution or evolve that way, a guru is a must because you need to learn from a guru. Like we are learning from him, it's like a guru for this topic.
But the guru will not think for you. The guru will not understand for you. Even if there are traditions that are talking about gurus, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are saying that you don't need to think. Like a guru is nothing but a teacher, right? So this is a process of education. If I see something and I point it out to you, you will still need to look there and pay attention and see it for yourself. So that inquiry is still the individual. The guru or any teacher or any person involved in the education system is only assisting in that process.
Pointing
But
it out.
the thinking and the understanding has to be the individual's own effort.
Okay. Okay.
And that every single individual is capable of doing. But if some tradition says that you can't do it, ordinary people can't do it, and that a guru is someone who is the only one who will actually see the truth and you will only have to take his word for it, then that is problematic. Because that is shutting down your very natural faculty and capacity and need, in fact.
आवश्यक है, दूसरों का तृप्ति का स्रोत बनना भी आवश्यक। अपने बना लिए हैं, हर व्यक्ति शोध कर सकता है, यह सच्चाई है। जो अपने शोध से स्वयं तृप्त होना भी आवश्यक है, दूसरों का तृप्ति का स्रोत बनना भी आवश्यक है।
So it is necessary to for one so from your own inquiry, it is necessary to find your own source of fulfillment through your own inquiry, as well as it being necessary that you become the source of other people's fulfillment through your inquiry. Again, this doesn't mean that you are doing the thinking for them, but if you have inquired into something, it makes it much easier for you to point in that direction for someone else to undertake their own inquiry.
से स्वयं तृप्त होना भी आवश्यक है, शोध कर सकता है, यह सच्चाई है। जो अपने शोध से स्वयं तृप्त होना भी आवश्यक है, दूसरों का तृप्ति का स्रोत बनना भी आवश्यक है।
So it is necessary to find fulfillment through your own research and your own inquiry, as well as becoming a source of fulfillment for others through your inquiry.
ठीक है, इस ढंग से बात बनने वाली स्रोत बनती है।
So, all right, in this way, this becomes the source of something that can work out.
यहाँ से हम शुरू करने के लिए क्या किया जाए वाला बात ही पुनः दीवाल के सामने खड़े होकर के अब कर्तव्य विमूढ़ होने की बात क्या किया।
So after that, we come and find ourselves standing once again in front of this huge wall of what should we do now, what can be done now.
पुनः दीवाल के सामने खड़े होकर के अब कर्तव्य विमूढ़ होने की बात क्या किया।
कर्तव्य विमूढ़ होने की बात, I think it means to question what our duties now are in the face of these problems. That is the question that lies in front of us now again.
वाला बात ये आता है, पहले मुद्दा समझदार हुआ जाए, समझदारी के पश्चात जीने की कला को अपनाया जाए। जो जीने की कला में ही एक भाग आता है, धरती के साथ हम कैसे जिएंगे।
So based on all this entire logic that I've made, we now find ourselves standing again in front of this wall of what do we do now. So the first thing to be done is to understand. So we must first understand, and upon understanding, we must also adopt the art of living. And the first issue in the first object, in one of the first objects in adopting the art of living is how to live.
जो जीने की कला में ही एक भाग आता है, धरती के साथ हम कैसे जिएंगे।
So within this art of living itself, the one part that we come across is how do we live with this planet?
जीव संसार के साथ कैसा जिएंगे, वनस्पति संसार के साथ कैसा जिएंगे, ये सभी प्रश्न का उत्तर अपने आप से मिलने लगता है।
How will we live with this animal world? How will we live with the plant world? So we automatically start to find answers to such questions based on understanding.
जीने की कला में मनुष्य के साथ भी जीना है और मनुष्यतर संसार के साथ भी जीना है.
And in this art of living, we have to live with humans as well as live with the rest of nature.
हम सोचें कि मनुष्य के साथ जिएंगे, किसी के साथ जिएंगे नहीं, ये भी कोई व्यवहारिक बात हो नहीं सकती.
If we think we will live only with humans and not live with anyone else, that is also something which is not behaviorally possible.
ये मनुष्य को छोड़ देंगे, बाकी झाड़ पत्थर के साथ जिएंगे, ये भी अव्यवहारिक हो गया.
And to think that we will leave humans behind and only live with the plants and foliage, that is also not possible.
ये दोनों का गवाहियां अपने पास मिल चुकी है. तो
And the testimony to both of these being impossible is something we have already found.
इन गवाहियों के साथ हम अपने को समृद्ध बनाने की दिशा में हमको अग्रसर होना है, अपने को सार्थक बनाना है.
So along with these testimonies, we must move ahead in order to make ourselves prosperous and, what did you say?
बनाने की दिशा में हमको अग्रसर होना है, अपने को समृद्ध बनाने की दिशा में हमको अग्रसर होना है, अपने को सार्थक बनाना है.
So we must move ahead, we must proceed in the direction of making ourselves prosperous and making ourselves meaningful.
ये मुख्य प्रस्ताव का एक स्वरूप बनी.
So this becomes one form that a major proposal can take. And what is this form? The form is that we first need to understand, then we need to adopt the art of living with both animals and with both humans and the non-human nature.
ठीक है, ये मुख्य प्रस्ताव का स्वरूप बनने के उपरांत ये बनता है ये पूरा 10 क्रियाएं कैसे प्रमाणित हो.
And after this form of this major proposal, what comes next is how do we evidence all the 10 activities of the Jeevan.
ये मुख्य मुद्दा है.
That is a major issue.
इस विधि से हम इस मानसिकता में पहुंचे, हम 10 क्रियाओं को कैसा अनुभव कर सके.
In this way, we have reached now this mentality that how can we experience all 10 of our activities.
ये तो तयशुदा बात है. अपने में हर मनुष्य अनुभव करने की दावा करता ही है और समझदार.
ये तो क्या बात है?
तो तयशुदा बात है. अपने में हर मनुष्य अनुभव करने की दावा करता ही है.
ये तो समथिंग बात है.
तयशुदा, दुष्टा तयशुदा. तय मतलब
decided.
Decide.
Okay. So this is a decided sort of ये तयशुदा बात है probably means कि this is definite. Like ये तो we know, right? This is something we know. This is
seems like obvious.
Right, definitely seen. So this is definitely seen that each individual claims to experience in themselves.
और समझदारी की दावा करता ही है.
And also claims to have understood. So this is a definite fact that every individual claims that they have experienced and that they have understood.
मूल्यांकन की दावा करता है।
and that they have
इस
evaluated.
3 दावा मैं समझता हूँ जैसा है 10-15 वर्ष शरीर काल का हर व्यक्ति का जैसा है व्यतीत होता है, उसके तुरंत बाद ही इस प्रकार की दावा करना शुरू हो जाता है।
So this is something, these 3 claims, I believe, begin to be made after each individual completes about 15-16 years of their life.
धीरे धीरे प्रौढ़ अवस्था तक आदमी अपने को ये मान लेता है, मैं अनुभव करता हूँ और समझता हूँ और मूल्यांकन करता हूँ।
And gradually, progressing towards maturity and adulthood, each individual begins to believe that yes, I do experience, I do understand, and I do evaluate.
ये मुख्य स्रोत है। हर मनुष्य
This is a major source.
में ये दावा करने का जो प्रवृत्ति है, ये सहज है। ये कोई लदा हुआ, फंसाया हुआ और थोपा हुआ बात नहीं है।
And this tendency to make these claims is natural to humans. It is nothing that has been imposed or that they have been trapped into or that they have been burdened with. The fact of making these claims.
हर व्यक्ति में ये उमंग है, ये उत्साह है, स्वयं स्फूर्त है। ये आवश्यकता के ओर निर्देशित करता है।
So each individual has this hope, this enthusiasm, this necessity, this need that something. That's so funny, they're aiming at his foot.
स्वयं स्फूर्त है, ये आवश्यकता के ओर निर्देशित करता है।
Right. And so this, every human naturally has this hope, naturally has this enthusiasm, has this desire, which is spontaneous, which is self-spontaneous, innate, which indicates towards a real necessity.
हर मनुष्य को ये आवश्यकता है, इस बात को इंगित कराता है।
The fact that this indicates towards the fact that each individual, each human being has this necessity.
पर हम चिर उपेक्षा किए हैं और इसको ध्यान में लाने की आवश्यकता है।
This is something that we have long expected, long anticipated, and this fact is something that needs to be brought to attention. This is something that needs to be attended to.
ये भी एक मुद्दा है जिस पर हम पुनर्विचार करने की आवश्यकता है। जबकि इतना सहज स्रोत रहते हुए हम इतना चिरकाल से कैसा उपेक्षा कर दिया। हम तेरे को तारूंगा मैं।
So this is also an expectation, an anticipation that we must revisit and think about. So this is having been such a long held anticipation or such an old natural anticipation. How did we इसका हमने कैसे उपेक्षा कर दिया? How did we devalue it to become that I will help you overcome, that I will get you to overcome, कि मैं तुमको तारूंगा।
इतना चिरकाल से कैसा उपेक्षा कर दिया। हम तेरे को तारूंगा मैं तर जाऊं, मैं तारने वाला व्यक्ति हूं। इस प्रकार से कैसा सोच लिया, यह एक आश्चर्यजनक घटना है।
So it is something very surprising that for so long we have devalued this natural anticipation, which is the natural anticipation to understand for oneself, to experience for oneself, and to evaluate for oneself. We have undervalued this very natural expectation, this very natural age-old expectation in each human by saying that there will be one individual that I will be able to help you overcome, that I, being one individual, will overcome not just myself, will not just overcome for myself, will also get you to overcome. Which is he's again referring back to that heroism in idealistic cultures.
और इसमें हम सब आस्था भी करते रहे हैं, ये भी.
And this is something that we have also, all of us have also held faith in. Is there a better way you can think of to say कि मैं तुमको तारूंगा? I can only think of overcoming. But is there any other way in which it is expressed in a more understandable way, do you think?
Can it be I will
Tarna is-
deliver you to realizing?
Huh?
Deliver.
Deliver, yes, deliverance. They do use this word. Yes, yes, that I will deliver you. That I will be the source of your deliverance. Yes, exactly. Prachi, you were also saying something?
No, I was saying the same thing. I was rather saying Tarna is something related to help you, like related to moksha is also Tarna used, na? But I think deliverance is nicer word. Deliverance is more precise.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, because Tarna also comes from that analogy of crossing a river, I think, no? To cross that river. And deliverance is also to deliver you from here to there. So, like,
Yeah.
the boatman is your deliverer. So, you are not doing anything. You just have to follow the boatman blindly, sit in his boat and reach there. So, yeah, this is what he's saying, that despite having this age-old natural expectation in all of us, we still came up with this strange notion that I will help deliver you, that one person will deliver someone else.
एक बात,
This is surprising.
आस्थाएं सदा सदा आश्वासन के आधार पर टिकी रही, ना कि प्रमाणों के आधार पर.
Faith has forever been held firm on the basis of assurances. Yes, the faith of people has always been held firm on the basis of assurances.
ये मुख्य बात है.
This is a major
तो
point.
वास्तविक में विचार ये करना है, प्रमाणों के आधार पर हम आस्था करना है या हम आश्वासनों के आधार पर आश्वासन करना.
So this is a major point to pay attention to, that should we have faith on the basis of evidences or faith on the basis of assurances?
ने आस्था करना है. ये
As he says, do we want to have faith on the basis of evidences or on the basis of assurances?
सोचने की मुद्दा है.
This is something
मेरे
to think
अनुसार
about.
मैं जो आरंभिक काल से ही मैं जैसा ही हमारा प्रवृत्ति हुई, प्रमाणों के आधार पर आस्था करने के लिए हमारा विचार हुआ.
From my initial days itself, based on the kind of tendencies that I had this acceptance of having faith based only on evidence.
हमारा प्रवृत्ति हुई, हमारा स्वाभाविक रूप में उत्साह बढ़ा.
This was my tendency, and in a very natural way, my enthusiasm for this also only increased.
Okay, I want to ask something. I keep going back to a different kind of point. Now, say I have not experienced Jeevan in the sense that one can experience to the degree, and one can.
With 10 activities.
But I have to believe and I have to accept without evidence yet, hoping that one day it will become evident to me. How do you correlate? Because whoever goes for these sessions, for example, workshops, they haven't got it. They go there to get it. No?
Right. So
I think it's all about that. We learn from others.
Yeah. So I wanted to connect it to that question you had brought up the other day. Let me just complete this thought he had, which he started. I feel like he might be addressing this question over here. So let's just see what he's saying here. Let him complete this thought, then I'll come back to what you're saying.
Okay.
हमारा प्रवृत्ति हुई, हमारा स्वाभाविक रूप में उत्साह बढ़ा। प्रमाणों को खोजने की जगह में ही हम जब अपने को रिक्तता पाई तो उसी के आधार पर ये सब पुनर्विचार करने की प्रवृत्ति बनी।
It was in the absences that were found when searching for evidences that all of this rethinking began.
तो उसी के आधार पर ये सब पुनर्विचार करने की प्रवृत्ति बनी। उसका परिणाम स्वरूप जो कुछ भी हुआ आपके सम्मुख रखने के लिए हम प्रवृत्त हैं।
So it was on the basis of this search for evidences and the absence found there that I developed this tendency for rethinking everything. And as a consequence of that rethinking, all of this that I have presented in front of you became possible, became this opportunity to share everything that I have been sharing with you emerged also on the basis of that. But still the thought is not completed because he was talking about whether we want to have faith based on evidences or faith based on assurances.
नहीं तो हमारे लिए भी कोई रास्ता नहीं रहा। जैसा 700 करोड़ आदमी के सम्मुख जैसा रास्ताएं सब बंद हो चुकी हैं, उसी भांति मेरे साथ भी रहा होगा। इसको आप भी अंदाज कर सकते हैं।
Otherwise, there was no way for me either. Just like the rest of the 700 crore people, the ways for me were also closed in the very same way as they are for everyone else.
इसमें कोई शंका नहीं है। इसी स्थिति में मैं भी था।
I was also in the very same state where there were no evidences, basically. That's the state. There were only assurances and there were no evidences. And all the
मानव कुल में ही किसी की कोख में ये शरीर यात्रा शुरू हुई है। इसी संसार के जो आधोड़ा पूरा बेकार मैंने साकार कुछ भी शिक्षा संस्कार कहलाते हैं, ऐसे ही कुछ कर्मकांडी संस्कार।
So it was, even I was also in such a state. Even I began my journey in a womb in this human tradition.
संस्कार कहलाते हैं, ऐसे ही कुछ कर्मकांडी संस्कार कुछ शिक्षा संस्कार, इसी जंगल में से मैं भी गुजरा हूँ।
And in this tradition, there are some things that are considered to be educations and rituals and dogma and practices. Even I had to traverse through this jungle of so-called education and rituals, etc.
गुजरने के बावजूद हमारा स्वीकृतियां ना तो इस शिक्षा के साथ रही, परंपरागत संस्कारों के साथ रही।
Despite traversing through these, my acceptances neither remained with these traditional dictates nor with the education system of I think what is it?
ना तो इस शिक्षा के साथ रही, परंपरागत संस्कारों के साथ रही।
So neither was I able to accept this sort of education nor the traditional sort of system.
हमारा आस्थाएं इसमें स्थिर नहीं हो पाई। यही हमारा संपूर्ण जो उद्देश्यों के ओर दौड़ने का आधार बना।
My faith could not find any source of stability in these, and that became the basis for my objective to run towards.
ये हमारा संपूर्ण जो उद्देश्यों के ओर दौड़ने का आधार बना।
This became the basis of all my running towards my own objectives.
ये दोनों जगह में हम छूट गए, जो ना शिक्षा परंपरा से हमारा आस्था बन पाई, ना संस्कार परंपरा जो समुदायों में होती हैं उसमें ना आस्था बन पाई, इसीलिए हम रिक्त हो गए शायद।
So from both these places I was freed. That is, neither could I form any sort of solid faith in the education system, nor could I find any basis for solid faith in the communal systems of enculturation. So in both these places, I became, he says, rikt ho gayi. Matlab, both these avenues became zero for me, basically. Both of them became emptied. So he didn't find any form of, any basis of faith in either of these.
है हम अपने ढंग से दौड़ने के लिए तैयार हो गए,
And therefore, I became prepared to run in my own way.
ऐसा लगता है।
That is how I feel.
किंतु घटना तो घट चुकी। इस घटना में यही बना, जीवन को समझना एक महत्वपूर्ण बिंदु रही।
So this event has already occurred. This is something that has already occurred, and in this event, what happened was that I happened to understand the Jeevan. So Manjuji, I'm not sure he's going to go on about the faith thing. So I think maybe we can discuss it ourselves, because it's only 7 minutes
No,
left.
I can go with this because everybody is different. No, maybe for him he was more right brain type and he decided to use his dimag.
Sorry, I couldn't hear
Maybe
you.
he was more logical. No, some people need logic. Some people just can. So many people are. It's different.
No, he's not saying that. In fact, he's making the point that if we are able to judge the fact that there is no evidence in the content of the faith being provided to us, that means if we are able to judge that these are simply assurances without any backing of evidence, then it does not lead to any basis of faith to begin with. And this is what he was able to judge in both these systems, be it the education system, the regularized education system, or be it his traditional communal teaching from your family that you pick up, which is, which differs from community to community, group to group. So he was able to see that in both of these, there is no real basis of evidence. And what he's saying is that if any of us are able to see that there is no evidence here and only assurances, then all of us must think, then he's actually proposing that should we not think, do we want to base our faith on pure assurances only, or do we want to look for evidence? So in that context of that question, he's sharing how he went about answering that question, and that is what propelled him towards answers and evidence also. So in that way, he's saying that actually, no, we can't, none of us can really function on pure assurances. All of us need evidence. So, if your question was that for us right now, someone is saying there are 10 activities and there is this possibility of anubhav and happiness and living orderly. Right now, unless you see it for yourself, it is still just an assurance, which is perfectly true. But he's saying there over here, if you go along with this process, so, it's like what we talked about that time, the hypothesis versus pure faith. A hypothesis is also something that we believe, and faith is also something that we believe. But a hypothesis is something that we are working to test out as we hold on to it as a tentative belief. So if this seems appealing, it seems like there might be an evidence for this. If we look further, then we'll test out the hypothesis. And as we start testing it out, if we start to see the evidences, then our conviction in that hypothesis gets stronger and stronger. But if we've held on to a belief with no intention of testing it out and just leaving it at belief, then that becomes a problem, because then we are not moving towards evidence.
Acha, I got it. I know. Well, now what's happening. I want to go by belief and then test it out.
Yeah, we must test out. That's what we must. We all seek evidence. So we must work towards evidence. Of any
but
belief.
I have evidence, then I'll listen. I'll listen and then. But it's not possible to know what the person is saying and then only listen. You listen, then you'll know. That's how I'm.
Yeah, exactly. It'll have to be a stepwise process, because you can't listen and have evidence instantaneously.
Got it. Topic over.
Okay.
जीवन में ही समझदारी समाये जाने की बात रही, वो समझदारी समाने की विधि हमें हाथ लगी।
So as a consequence of this revisiting, I came to understand the Jeevan, and it was in this very Jeevan that I understood that understanding happens. So it is in this Jeevan that understanding happens, and that it is in this Jeevan that the understanding resides.
बात रही, वो समझदारी समाने की विधि हमें हाथ लगी।
And I also got hold of the way to bring about this understanding in the Jeevan. कि उसकी विधि भी हाथ लग गई. So I got that technique also, the way to go about it also.
तो उसी क्रम में अभी आगे बढ़ते हैं, तो जो 10 क्रियाएं,
So to move ahead in that direction, these 10 activities that exist,
प्रमाणित होने की विधि कैसे आता है?
so what is the way for all 10 of these activities to be evident? So now here is the interesting thing. How do we go about evidencing these in ourselves?
ये मुद्दा यहीं से शुरू होती है।
So this is where this issue begins.
These 10 are the ones that we're talking about, are the ones which earlier we said we only experienced 4.5.
Yeah. The 10
Okay.
activities of the Jeevan that currently we only experience 4.5 of.
जो मान्यताओं आस्थाओं के आधार पर हम 5.5 क्रिया में ही जीना है। आस्था जब तक है,
That was a mistake. He said 5.5. He says, so on the basis of pure belief and faith, we will only live within 4.5 activities. He accidentally misspoke and said 5.5, but it was 4.5.
माने आस्था का मतलब यह होता है वस्तु को हम बिना जाने अस्तित्व को स्वीकारते हैं।
So basically what faith means is that without knowing the entity, we accept its existence.
अस्तित्व जब स्वीकारा गया, अस्तित्व को बिना जाने स्वीकारा गया, वो अस्तित्व को समझने का जो कुछ भी परिस्थितियां बनी, अस्तित्व समझ में आए बिना ही हम बहुत कुछ मान लिया कि अस्तित्व है।
So when the existence of the entity was accepted in this way without knowing it, the circumstances or the situations that arose,
हम बहुत कुछ मान लिया कि अस्तित्व है बिना,
we began to believe in the existence of a lot of things. So, we started to believe that so many things exist.
What is
without really knowing.
What is astitva here? Existence.
Yeah. So astitva can be used in both ways, to refer to all of existence or to refer to the existence of something. So here he's saying faith is to believe in the existence of an entity without knowing that entity, whatever that entity may be.
Okay. Like,
And
okay.
so here he's talking about that, the existence of something, not the entirety of existence.
Okay.
ना जाने अस्तित्व को मान लिया, यही मान्यता है।
So without knowing, when we accept the existence of something, that itself is called a belief.
इसी मान्यता के आधार पर आस्था कहलाता है।
And it is based on such belief that we consider something to be a faith, to be faith.
जो जिसको जानने की बात हम मानते हैं, उसका नाम होता है विश्वास।
When we accept something based on knowing it, that is called confidence. This is a very important point. He's saying ungrounded beliefs, or basically beliefs not grounded in understanding, lead to what we call faith. Faith is a state of our being. I have faith in that. It's a feeling. But on the other hand, the alternative is a belief or an acceptance of something based on understanding it. What that leads to is confidence. So here he's defining confidence and contrasting it with faith. So you can either have faith or you can have confidence. Believing without knowing leads to faith. Believing based on knowing leads to confidence.
विश्वास और मान्यता में अंतर इतने ही है। इन दोनों को हम समझने के बाद अपने में ये विश्वास हो जाता है कि हम सदा हम जानने के बाद ही मानने की प्रक्रिया में हम संलग्न रहे।
So this is the basic difference. This is a clear difference between faith and confidence. And when we understand this difference between faith and confidence, what happens is that after that we become forever, after understanding this distinction, we forever become dedicated towards acceptance only grounded in or only based in understanding. So when this distinction between faith and confidence becomes clear to us, then that is what motivates us to forever be dedicated towards understanding and then believing rather than believing without understanding. Because we realize that if I believe something without understanding it, I am just going to have faith and not confidence. And therein lies the whole problem with I don't feel confident in things, whatever that thing may be. So I think we should pause here because it's time. And it's a nice point to pause at also. The question of confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything? Would you like to say anything or ask anything before we leave?
No. What page are you on in that book?
I haven't been able to find because earlier we were somewhere in the 40s and then now we're not in that continuity. Somewhere ahead we are now. The true form of it, I'm not sure.
It's all right.
I'll find
It's
it. I was looking for it just before this.
No, how can we are behind the other one. We are not behind.
No, it's not. So in the other one, we're reading the book.
So confusing.
We are not behind the other one because actually their trajectories are different. The book does not follow the same trajectory as the recording. That's the issue. So over here, we're about to end in a few videos, but the book has only just started. So we've crossed page number 50. So we've gone pretty far in that also. But yeah, we haven't covered this point over there yet.
I know. Because you say page number 40, so in that we've already crossed it. So I knew there's some confusion. Acha, theek hai. All right.
Yeah, I'll try to find where we are in the book.
Okay.
If you find it, let me know. In fact, page number 40 also, Prati had only
my book is old, no? I have to look at the new book. Once I print it, then I'll look.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't like to see it on the, on the phone itself.
It's a strain on the eyes.
I like to write my points, highlight, cut, picture, everything on my book. Old fashioned.
Yeah. Even I like that. But sometimes it's all easier to have it on PDF.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.